All right. Our next presentation is from our first place winner in Ghana, and that is David Abene. David Abene's enterprise is called David Farms. David Farms is located in the northern part of Ghana, and David is the manager of the business and operations and has created a new methodology for farming in Ghana that is going to transform how cattle are raised. The team members that he's working with are Desmond Hamidou, who is his veterinary officer, and Alex Abena, who is the tricycle driver. What you're seeing on the screen now are several farms. Photo 1 is a photo of the David Farms cattle that are eating local greenery and being fed in a way that allows them to grow quickly and fatten up very nicely. In pictures 2 and 3, you can see some of David's competitor farmers, and what you'll notice is that they're farming in a completely different way, where they're essentially grazing their cattle out in the world, and you can see there's not a lot for those cattle to eat, so it takes many, many more years for these cattle to reach the full maturity and fatness that they need to reach to come to market. And the final picture there you'll show is a news article that's talking about how there are a lot of challenges that these farmers that are doing this local grazing are having in terms of clashing with other farmers that are out there as the herds are starting to eat some of their production. So the value proposition of David's Farm. So David's bulls are disease-free. They have very, very healthy and tender meat, and they're being raised and farmed intensively in an area where David can have complete control with his team over the health and safety of the cattle, and also allows them to have really safe and timely production to local butchers because their herd is there corralled in their local area. And David is able to ensure the safe handling of the cattle, not only when he has them in-house, but also as he's transporting them to market, which again is quite different and difficult from the competitors in the marketplace. So David's been spending a lot of time looking at his potential customers and who they are. So according to globalmeat.com's report on September 24th from 2015, a Ghanaian professor has revealed that the meat industry in Ghana produces only 10% of the meat that it consumes. He indicated that the opposite is that 90% of all meat consumed in Ghana has to be imported from Burkina Faso and Europe, which means there's a huge opportunity to grow this beef in Ghana directly. And David is really dedicated to learning and perfecting the methodologies to produce that meat in Ghana now, not only for his company, but to train other farmers around the region so they can also benefit from this technology. David acknowledges that imported animal meat is extremely expensive and therefore out of reach of many citizens, which is continuing to contribute to malnutrition, which affects children most acutely. In Ghana, the country has spent millions on importing meat that is really unnecessary because that meat could be produced right within the country using these new farming technologies. So like the other participants, David worked a lot on his business model canvas, and what you're looking at now is where David's business model canvas was at the beginning of the boot camp and the 4-month internship and how he was imagining conducting his business. After going through the 4-month internship, David evolved his business model canvas quite a bit through customer research, through learning about marketing, through really evaluating his business model, working with his local mentor to look at the business behind the idea of intensive cattle farming, and has created an updated business model that I will walk through with you in terms of how his business will work moving forward. So David is partnering with butchers, cattle farmers, veterinarians, and transporters, and also investors to keep his business going. His primary activities are really the purchasing and fattening of those young bulls and ensuring that they stay healthy, taking care of them and medicating them when necessary. In terms of the team and the resources that are required to do this, it's important that David have access to skilled tricycle drivers as well as caretakers of the cattle, including his trained veterinary officer who's part of his team. David also raises poultry as another means for creating revenue for purchasing of the young bulls. How he's making money is by selling these fattened live cattle that he's raised. He also has some ancillary revenue streams, including renting out the tricycles when they're not in use, and then collecting all of that organic manure that's being created and selling that to crop farmers in his region. The cost structure of his business is really the rent of the structures and the facilities where the animals are kept, the motorbikes for transporting the animals around, other farming types of equipment, including wheelbarrows, water troughs, feed troughs for the cattle and the poultry, storage tanks, all the medical supplies that are necessary, as well as the protective clothing and computer and electronic equipment that he's using to run his business. The value proposition of David Farm is that he is able to create healthy and tender meat that's disease-free. He's able to do that in a really timely manner to get it to market safely, and he's doing it in a much more rapid time than any of his competitor farmers in the region are able to do. He's looking at the customers and determining what it is that they're looking for in Ghana, and he knows that his customers are very conscientious about getting good, healthy, tender meat for their families to eat. And he's working with butchers that really prefer the type of meat that he's providing. There's a great opportunity in Ghana during the festival season, and that there's a lot of need for meat to be used during that time. So David is looking at bringing the cattle and poultry to market during those times when festivals are gearing up, and meeting the customer demand, increased customer demand at that time. So in terms of the market opportunity, right now, as I've mentioned, 90% of the Ghanaian market is underserved, and that the idea of purchasing these young bulls, raising them, fattening them, ensuring that they're healthy, and then reselling them back into the market is the way that the transaction works. In addition to that, the ancillary revenue streams of organic manure to coca and crop and vegetable farmers and motorbike rentals is increasing the viability of the business as it grows. Currently at David Farms, all assets and resources for operations are in place. Purchasing of young bulls and the sale of those bulls once they've fattened is ongoing. David Farms currently has 600 cockerels, which has been established and is allowing him to generate rapid income to support the purchasing of additional cattle. And David Farms currently employs 4 laborers. Plans are in place right now to advance into 2017 with the purchase and raising of 300 bulls, and then by 2018 scaling up to 700 bulls, and by 2019 scaling up to 1,000 bulls. This will lead David Farms to become the largest cattle farmer in process in Africa. His plans are to place to start cattle breeding on the farm himself, so he doesn't have to purchase all the young bulls, but can start to raise them. And throughout this process, he has been able to acquire 3 motorbikes to generate additional income. His plans for the poultry is to expand to having upwards of 2,000 cockerels, 1,000 guinea fowls, and 1,500 layers to generate and validate more additional income for continued expansion of the farm. And he's already been able to set up plans and put in place the processing of the meat. So David Farms is a very successful venture already with very ambitious plans to grow into the future and be even more successful. The thing that's really amazing about what David is doing in northern Ghana is he's not keeping this information to himself. He is working and focusing to create a new way, a new methodology that's healthier for the animals, that produces a much higher amount of revenue and income for the business, creates a better product for the marketplace and the customers, and then he's also sharing that with other farmers in the market so he can not only make an impact for himself and his family and his employees, but he can make an impact across Ghana and eventually even other areas of Western Africa. So David Farms is a model farm for what the future is to hold in Western Africa. All right, so David is not able to take any live questions, but we are going to be able to send him some questions via WhatsApp, and we can get those answered for you. Just doing a time check, we've got Andrea on hold to begin our time management session, but while we're getting her queued up, we're going to go ahead and have Mary Simmons, the director of the Global Leadership Coalition, talk a little bit more about Judith and David's projects.
Okay, great. So David's standing by for the questions, and David's an amazing person. You know, when you talk about the leadership competencies that are demonstrated, it is really encouraging. So one of the things that certainly we have learned from our interactions with all of our participants, but particularly those in Ghana, is, you know, really developing and seeing that step into that circumstances are just what they are, and they are able to get past the circumstances and still achieve and succeed. I want to give an example of David, who traveled for 12 hours in order to come to Accra to participate in the final pitching session. I want to give the example also of Judith today, who did not have access to a computer, and both Judith and David are standing by using WhatsApp. So I spoke about the Sustainable Development Goals earlier, and one of the Sustainable Development Goals also deals with the access to technology and the access to and use of technology. And one of the things that we are learning as we move into our Africa program is that there are challenges and there are actually responses, and we look forward to working with countries in Africa so that in delivering this program, we will work with them to identify ways in which we can improve the technology and partner with people who will help us to help young people to have greater access to technology to advance their businesses, and while also looking at how they're not deterred by the barriers, but they use the barriers to find innovative ways of getting past challenges and still achieving what they want. Another example that I'd like to give is our youth ambassador for Ghana. We have youth ambassadors for each area in which we are intervening. Our youth ambassador for Ghana was Vera Adombila, and Vera sent us her video, and if there's time, During this process, we will just send you a greeting from Vera, who is an entrepreneur herself, and who was also a mentor, and who also grew both in her entrepreneurship and her mentoring through this program. So Vera was able to send us a video via WhatsApp. So this is what we want to do in connecting our young people to the world, connecting our young people to opportunities that are outside in the global world, and so they continue to be unstoppable. There is no barrier over which there's no barrier that they can't conquer without, by working with their teams, working with their networks, and using their internal creativity to find solutions to the challenges that they are dealing with. Now, all right, so David, we will send, there were some questions regarding, and for all participants, we want them to talk a little bit more about their projections for the viability of their business. And, give us a little bit more feedback on why you think that your business is going to generate the earnings that you have projected in your presentation. So we will give David some time to give some thought to that, and we will later in the summit give the response. It will take him some time to give us